So hi guys, we are here talking about innovation, and I have a very special guest today, Catlin. Hi Catlin,
Hello.
thank you for your time.
Pleasure.
And Catlin, something about you first, and then
Yes.
I'll shoot off questions.
My name is Dr. Catlin Powers. I'm the CEO of One Earth Designs, and I also teach sustainable business and technology at Harvard University. So
Perfect.
Really, it's a pleasure to be here with you today, Pritesh.
It's great, thank you very much.
And Pritesh has just done a beautiful meal on our solar cookers, right? So we've had lots of fun.
Thank you. So it's a pleasure to have Catlin here. Now we're going to talk something about innovation. We were cooking on a solar cooker right now, and I'm going to ask questions for all of you on behalf of you. First, as an innovator, so what got you into solar cooking, and what gets you into innovation?
You know, in the beginning, it was all by chance.
Okay.
I went up into the Himalayas. I'm a chemist by training, and I went up into the Himalayas to study about climate change.
Okay.
And while I was there, I started going out and speaking with some of the local villagers.
Okay.
One of the families asked me, "Why are all of you scientists coming to our region?"
Okay.
And I couldn't find the word for climate change. So I said, "We're studying smoke in the sky." And the family just burst out laughing. Said, "What a ridiculous thing to do. The sky's completely blue, but there's all this smoke inside our homes."
Yeah.
So they pulled me into their home. We measured the air together and found that it was 10 times more polluted than the air in Beijing.
Wow.
Incredible pollution levels.
Wow. Okay.
So from that moment, I decided to leave my research and start migrating with that nomadic family, designing solutions together.
So how long has that been?
Oh, it's been almost 10 years now.
10 years?
Yes. So
Fantastic.
it was maybe 7 years of migrating with the families. We designed 58 different solar stoves, actually.
58.
That's right, before we
Wow.
developed this one. So
Okay.
many years of migrating together, learning. Most of that time was learning. I was the world's worst nomad, you can imagine. So learning how the traditional stoves are done and how many challenges are around this problem of household air pollution. It's not just pollution. It's fuel, it's education, it's the gender dynamics between man and woman, right?
Okay, and so most of the innovations happen by chance, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So 58, how much time do you take in terms of conceptualizing a problem, of identifying a problem, conceptualizing what is working or what could work, and then designing stuff around it? So how much time according to you?
It's a great question. So in the beginning, it took us a long time.
Sure.
I basically went and got a bunch of scrap materials, brought them to the village, and we all started prototyping together.
Perfect.
So it was a long time in making every good prototype.
Okay.
What I've since learned is that there's a better approach to developing products.
Which is?
Rapid prototyping.
Okay.
So here, the idea is that you think about your product and you think about which questions you need to answer in what sequence.
Okay.
And you take those questions one by one. And you say, for example, this product needs to hold 25 kilograms. So then you design just the base of the product and build just the base in a very low-cost, rapid way to test if it can hold 25 kilograms.
That's it.
That's it.
Not the whole box.
That's right. Just test one thing at a time.
Okay.
And for many of the questions, you don't have to use the real materials. So for example, you know Google Glass, right? You've heard about this?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you know how long it took to design the first version of Google Glass, the first prototype?
No.
30 minutes.
30 minutes?
30 minutes.
That's it?
So the guy who designed it, he went and got a piece of plexiglass, he got a hairband, and a pair of chopsticks. And he used those 3 pieces to design the first version of Google Glass with this projected screen.
Wow, that's incredible.
Isn't that incredible?
It's incredible.
So,
So, which means the time for innovation has to be extremely low. So rapid innovation means you have to hit the market very, very quickly. More than the market, the consumer.
Exactly. Well, there are 2 components.
Okay.
One is answer questions quickly and in sequence, right?
Okay.
So you don't have to try to answer everything at once. Answer the most important questions first related to your product. And
How do you
build up
identify the questions?
That's a great question. It has
How
to do with...
how do you categorize the questions?
Yeah, so we categorize them based on the reliance between them.
Okay.
So, for example, if we're designing a new product, it might be that we have to know if it's safe before, if the pressure is safe, before we can know how to design the casing, right? Around it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we have to answer the pressure problem before we can start designing anything related to the casing.
Okay.
So by that approach, we look at the dependencies and we look at the ones that most things depend on, and we answer those first.
Fantastic.
So that's one piece.
This interview is going to go completely haywire because I'm so terribly interested in what she's saying. So I'm going to ask a lot of questions.
It's mutual. Yeah. But you also asked about customers, right?
Yes.
And I would absolutely advocate getting to the customers as soon as possible and designing with the customers.
Now, as far as the customers are concerned, if there is a certain standard innovation that you're doing, what is the propensity or likelihood of a customer to forgive you for not delivering up to promise?
That's a great question as well. So it depends on which customer.
Okay.
When we first start out, we're very careful to identify the right beachhead, so the right first customer to target.
Okay.
And there are a couple criteria that we look for. One is they have to be an early adopter.
Okay.
So a group that is, it can, how do I say? It doesn't have to be a 100%, it doesn't have to 100% meet their needs, right?
Okay.
This is a customer that's willing to accept something that's a little bit less than 100%,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
So they're open-minded in that way.
Okay.
Two is that they have to be willing to give us feedback. So
Right.
even if they're willing to accept, it doesn't mean anything if we can't figure out what was wrong about the product, right?
Okay.
So they have to be able to give us feedback. And three is it has to be a market that's slightly isolated, because if something goes really wrong, we don't want it to
the whole world to know.
Exactly, that's
Perfect.
right. That's
Perfect.
right.
So find a smaller market, talk to those consumers frequently. How much is the consumer willing to participate in co-creating?
A lot. We found that customers love getting to co-design, test, beta test, right?
Okay.
So test products when they come out and give feedback. So if you find the right customers, those early niche customers,
sure,
it feels so much better for them to be engaged throughout the process than to just be treated as a customer that is being sold to. That's right.
Okay, so a customer typically is then more than willing to participate with you.
Especially the early adopter customers.
That does it need then for you to be part of their community to talk to them? Does it make it easier?
I'd say it definitely makes it easier.
Okay.
It's not necessary, but especially if you show that you respect their community.
Okay.
That's when it's easy to have that conversation.
Okay, so maybe have a conversation with them first, try and explain what you're doing, why you're doing that, and that you're creating something for them.
That's right.
And then you get the entry.
That's right.
Perfect. So speed, you get customer empathy, you go to customers as quickly as possible to test out your hypothesis and questions.
Find the right early adopters to work with.
Find the early adopters. Now, as an innovator, what are the challenges that you face in terms of, once you've developed a product, right, and you have hit the market and it sounds right? It sounds right. Now and the early adopters have given you feedback.
Yes.
If you start hitting the market and you see a set of consumers who are not behaving as expected but are still loving your product,
right?
What do you do? Do you keep talking to them and try and change your direction,
Excellent
or do you continue down the path and maybe just ignore them, or maybe just service them and keep moving ahead?
I would absolutely say pay attention to those customers, because oftentimes those end up being your big champions. So for example, Apple computers, right? They started out thinking we're going to compete with IBM, we're going to make this engineering computer, but that's not who was using their product. It was the artists who wanted to have better design, right? So if they hadn't listened to their customers on that, they would have ended up making another IBM computer. But instead, they listened to their customers. They said, there's a big niche here to support designers. How do we make the graphics better? And that became the differentiator for Apple, which launched it into the huge company it is today.
Perfect.
So, yes.
And one final question, and I think this was asked to you today as well. Now, if you're designing a product, innovating on a product or a service, launching a new e-commerce company or a digital solution, you would have copycats springing up the moment you launch. Right? So how do you protect yourself? What do you do to make sure? And I also have one more question after this.
Yes, sure. So the copycat question is a very interesting one.
Yeah.
I think that there are two approaches that people take. One is they try to defend themselves as much as possible. They use trade secrets, they lock down their factories, right? You see many companies doing that. The other is that they learn from the copycats. So you watch copycats coming online, they localize the products in their areas, and then you steal their localizations and you bring it into your product. Yes.
Really? So you actually copy the copycat?
That's right. And that's the best way, because the copycats show you what people are demanding in each individual region. So if you take all those learnings and bring it back into your product, that's the best way of driving innovation forward.
Okay, and also do copycats show you more efficiency? In terms of efficient ways of doing things?
Sometimes that can happen. We haven't seen it happen very much. Usually copycats are trying to drive other products out of the market, so that it's not fully optimized, but sometimes there can be those types of learnings.
Now, in terms of, say, products like, say, Uber was created. Now I'm asking you now from the Harvard side of and Silicon Valley. Uber was created, and then there were copycats that were created. Now, before Uber could move to different territories, the copycats are big enough, right? And how do you then make sure that in different territories your innovation is protected, or do you care at all?
So A couple ways you can do that. If you're a product company, of course, you can patent in different regions.
Sure.
And then it becomes the regional government's responsibility to defend your patents,
Okay.
right? So that's one way. It's becoming less and less effective over time.
Right.
If you're a service company, it's much more challenging because
Okay.
there it's all about who wins the market first. And a lot of times the local copycats, if you will, understand the business operating scenarios in a much better way. That's right. And especially where the government is involved, that can be a huge winning factor. And if you don't understand how to work with the local government, you won't be able to enter, right? So that's the challenge that Uber has had in China, for example.
Perfect. Now, and the final question to you. We've seen innovation mainly now in the services sector here in India. And then there are many e-commerce sites and many digital services companies coming up, but everybody's the same.
Yeah.
Right? So, and everybody gets funded. Now,
right.
Now
400 different food delivery startups.
100
right?
different food delivery startups, 7 in different taxi aggregators. Now, taxi aggregators are now becoming lesser in number. But why do you, from your perspective, have you seen innovators struggle to raise money, being different from what the theme of investment is?
Yes, I'd say so.
Okay.
And in two areas. So one is innovators who are looking at it. So there's the investment rage, whether it's food companies or auto companies and so forth. If you are outside that and you're thinking about the next paradigm, right? A lot of investors haven't caught up because they're thinking about how do I find the next Google? They're looking for the last big company, right? That's what they're trying to invest in, and usually that's not the big win. The big win is the paradigm shifting company that they haven't realized yet, right?
Absolutely.
So
do you stay invested in terms of, and you've been doing this for 10 years, and maybe this is a personal question, but how much of a financial drain does that make to you? And how do you keep invested into something that you think is going to change the world and also has a pot of gold?
That's a really great question. I'd say that as an entrepreneur, you need to be 100% committed to your company.
Okay.
And you also need to love your work every day. Because sometimes it does become financially straining. And if you don't wake up and love the work that you do, you will burn out.
So the lesson is you need to, even though there's a good opportunity, good opportunities out there, but it's not coming from your heart or from your gut, maybe don't chase that and chase something that your gut says is right. Is that true?
Well,